My phone recorded everything while I was asleep at my wedding. The notification on my phone said the voice recorder had been running for 7 hours and 43 minutes. I stared at it through my post-wedding hangover, still wearing yesterday's makeup and sprawled across the honeymoon suite's king bed. Marcus was in the shower, humming something off-key, probably still drunk on champagne and whatever he thought was victory. I almost deleted it. My thumb hovered over the red trash icon, ready to clear up storage space, when I remembered fumbling with my phone around 11 p.m. I'd been trying to record a voice memo for Sarah about the wedding planning disaster with the flowers, something about getting our deposit back from Petals and Pros. But then Marcus had swept me onto the dance floor, and I must have shoved the phone into my clutch without stopping the recording. 7 hours and 43 minutes of audio from our wedding night. The water was still running in the bathroom. I plugged in my earbuds and hit play, expecting to hear nothing but muffled fabric sounds and maybe some distant music from the reception. Instead, I heard my own voice, slurred with champagne. I can't believe we actually did it. Mrs. Eleanor Hartwell Morrison. God, that sounds so pretentious. Marcus laughing. Your family loves pretentious. Trust me, I've been studying them for 2 years. I remembered that conversation. We were back in our suite around midnight, and I'd been giddy, spinning around in my reception dress, the shorter one I'd changed into after dinner. I thought his comment about studying my family was sweet. Like he'd been trying so hard to impress them. I fast-forwarded through 20 minutes of us getting ready for bed, through Marcus's phone calls with the front desk about late-night room service, through my own drunk rambling about how perfect everything had been. The recording kept going even after I'd fallen asleep, the phone buried somewhere in the folds of my discarded dress. At timestamp 2 hours 14 minutes and 30 seconds, I heard our suite door open. Bro, you awake? Tommy's voice, Marcus's best man, whisper shouting the way drunk guys do when they think they're being quiet. Yeah, come in. She's completely out. Marcus's voice, clearer now, moving away from the bed. Champagne and those pain pills for her feet. She won't wake up if we detonate a bomb in here. I sat up straighter, volume turned low but every word crystal clear through my expensive earbuds, a wedding gift from my Aunt Patricia. Dude, I still can't believe you actually went through with it. Tommy again, and I could hear ice clinking in glasses. They were drinking. In my honeymoon suite. While I was unconscious 10 feet away. 2.4 million in her trust fund, plus whatever she stands to inherit from her grandmother's estate. That's not even counting the property in Martha's Vineyard or her dad's investment portfolio. Marcus's voice carried that tone he used when he talked about his trading algorithms, clinical and calculated. Tommy, her grandmother's house alone is worth more than everything my family has ever owned combined. The shower shut off. I yanked out my earbuds and shoved my phone under the pillow, heart hammering against my ribs. Marcus emerged in a cloud of steam, towel around his waist, that same easy smile that had charmed my entire family. Morning, beautiful. How's my wife feeling? I managed to smile back, the word wife sitting in my mouth like broken glass. Perfect, I lied. Absolutely perfect. Marcus ordered room service, fresh strawberries and champagne for my beautiful bride, and I forced myself to eat while he talked about our honeymoon plans. Napa Valley, then 2 weeks in Tuscany. All paid for with a credit card linked to my trust fund, I realized now. He'd been so insistent about handling the bookings himself. I need to shower, I said, kissing his cheek like a good wife should. Maybe we could have a late breakfast downstairs? Perfect. I'll call my mom, let her know we survived our first night as husband and wife. He winked, and I wanted to throw up. In the bathroom, I locked the door and turned on the shower full blast. My hand shook as I pulled up the recording again, fast-forwarding to where I'd left off. 2 hours 16 minutes and 45 seconds. The thing is, Marcus was saying, she actually thinks I love her. Like, genuinely believes it. It's kind of sad. Bro, that's cold even for you. It's practical. You know what my family's financial situation is like after Dad's bankruptcy. This isn't about being cold, this is about survival. Besides, Elle's sweet, but she's naive as hell. She's never had to think about money because she's never not had it. Ice clinked again. How much were they drinking? What about the prenup? What prenup? Marcus laughed. Her family suggested it, but I played the don't you trust me card. Got all heard about how it wasn't romantic. Elle shut that conversation down real quick. She doesn't want anything to taint our love with legal contracts. I had shut it down. I remembered the conversation with my parents 6 months ago. Mom had gently brought up the idea, and I'd gotten defensive, accused them of not believing in my relationship. Dad had backed down immediately, said they just wanted me to be careful. I told them Marcus wasn't after money, he made plenty as a software developer. Apparently, not plenty enough. And she bought that? Hook, line, and sinker. Plus her sister helped sell it. My blood went cold. Sarah? Jess is a piece of work, Tommy continued, and I heard him moving around the room. I still can't believe she's been covering for you this whole time. Jess. Not Sarah. My maid of honor, Jessica, my younger sister by 3 years. My sister who'd held my hand through every breakup, who'd helped me pick out my wedding dress, who'd given that beautiful speech about true love during the reception. She's getting something out of it too, Marcus said. 50,000 once I have access to Elle's accounts. Plus, other benefits. Other benefits? Tommy's voice had a leer in it that made my skin crawl. Come on, man. You've seen how she looks at me. Started about 6 months after Elle and I got together. She made the first move, actually. Last Christmas, during their family party. Elle was in the kitchen helping her mom, and Jess cornered me by the wine cellar. The wine cellar. I remembered that party. Jess had been weird that night, clingy and emotional. She'd drunk too much and cried about how she felt invisible in the family, how I got everything I wanted. I'd held her hair back while she threw up and promised her she was important, that I loved her more than anyone. 6 months of sneaking around, and Elle never suspected a thing. Jess would literally text me from the same room while Elle was planning our wedding. She even helped pick out the engagement ring. She had helped. We'd spent an entire Saturday at Tiffany's, and she'd been the one who pointed out the setting Marcus eventually chose. She'd squealed with excitement when he proposed, cried happy tears, posted about her perfect sister finding her perfect match on Instagram. The recording continued, but I couldn't hear it over the sound of my heart breaking. I sat on the bathroom floor, legs folded under me, listening to my husband and his best friend dissect my marriage like a business transaction while steam from the shower fogged up the mirror. The recording kept playing, and somehow it got worse. The best part, Marcus continued, is that Elle actually suggested combining our bank accounts next month. Something about what's mine is yours and building a future together. I won't even have to forge anything. Jesus, Marcus. She's going to sign over everything? Not everything at once, I'm not stupid. But her trust fund gets reviewed annually, and she's the primary beneficiary. Once I'm legally her spouse and we have joint accounts, I can make some strategic investments. High risk, high reward stuff. If it pays off, great. If not. Marcus's voice trailed off with a shrug I could hear. If not, it's her money you're gambling with. Exactly. And Jess has been feeding me information about the family's financial situation for months. Elle tells her everything, every conversation with the financial advisors, every decision about the trust, even the details about her grandmother's will. My grandmother. 93 years old and sharp as a tack, the woman who taught me to play chess and told me never to trust anyone who wanted something from me. She was supposed to join us for dinner next week, flying in from Boston specifically to meet Marcus properly as my husband. What does Jess get out of ratting out her own sister? Security. Elle's always been the golden child, better grades, better job, now a bigger trust fund since she's married. Jess figures if Elle loses some of her shine, maybe she'll finally get more attention from mommy and daddy. Plus, she genuinely thinks she can convince me to leave Elle for her once I have enough money to be independent. Tommy laughed, the sound sharp and ugly. And will you? Are you insane? Jess is useful, but she's not worth $24 million. Elle's family adores me now. Her dad's already talking about bringing me into his investment firm, and her mom wants us to move into the carriage house on their property. Jess is just a side benefit. The water had been running for 15 minutes. I needed to get out soon or Marcus would get suspicious. But I couldn't stop listening. Speaking of which, Marcus's voice got lower. Where is Jess staying tonight? Same hotel, floor below us. Room 847. She texted around 3 a.m. asking if you were thinking about her. Perfect. Elle mentioned wanting to sleep in this morning, and she took another pain pill about an hour ago. I could slip out for a bit. Dude, you just got married 12 hours ago. And? It's not like this is a real honeymoon. Besides, Jess is flying back to Portland tomorrow. Won't see her again until Thanksgiving. I heard movement, footsteps heading toward what sounded like our suite sitting area. The voices got slightly muffled, but the phone had somehow captured everything with crystal clarity. Marcus. I called out, making my voice sound sleepy. Could you grab my phone charger from my purse? My phone's almost dead. Silence from the other room. Then, Tommy, we'll finish this later. Yeah, I'll find that charger for you, babe. I quickly paused the recording and turned off the shower. When I wrapped myself in the hotel's plush robe and opened the bathroom door, Marcus was standing there with my charger and that same devoted husband smile. Feel better? Much. I plugged in my phone right in front of him, the voice recording app still open on the screen. He didn't even glance at it. Where's Tommy? He headed back to his room. Poor guy's hungover as hell. 2 floors down, my sister was probably getting ready to spend the morning with my husband. The room service breakfast felt like chewing cardboard, but I forced myself to eat while Marcus talked about our day. He suggested I visit the hotel spa. You deserve to be pampered, Mrs. Morrison, while he handled some work calls. How convenient. Actually, I said, cutting into my eggs Benedict, my mom texted. She wants to have lunch, just the two of us. Something about giving me her grandmother's pearls now that I'm officially married. It was a lie, but Marcus's eyes lit up like I'd just mentioned buried treasure. Great-grandmother's pearls were worth about $40,000. That sounds perfect. I should probably check in with the office anyway, make sure nothing exploded while we were saying I do. He leaned over to kiss my forehead. Take your time with your mom. I'll be here when you get back. Sure he would. I spent 20 minutes getting ready, watching him in the mirror as he paced around our suite, phone in hand. The moment I stepped into the hallway, I heard him dialing. Instead of going downstairs, I sat in the stairwell and pulled up the recording again. 6 hours 23 minutes and 47 seconds, still hours left. I skipped forward randomly and landed on voices I didn't recognize at first. Sarah, are you seriously going to let this happen? A woman's voice, slightly slurred. Sarah. My actual maid of honor, my college roommate and best friend for 8 years. Let what happen, Mom? Sarah's voice was tired, frustrated. Mom. This was Sarah's mother, Carol, talking to Sarah. But why were they on my recording? They must have been near wherever I'd left my phone. Don't play stupid with me. I've been watching Marcus and Jessica all night. The way they look at each other, the way she finds excuses to touch him. That girl is sleeping with her sister's husband and you know it. My phone nearly slipped from my hands. Keep your voice down, Sarah hissed. And it's not my place to. Like hell it isn't. Eleanor is your best friend. That sweet girl treated you like family, paid for your law school loans when you were struggling, and you're going to stand by while her sister destroys her marriage? Sarah had paid her loans? I'd given Sarah $12,000 2 years ago when she was struggling after her dad's heart attack. She'd said it was for her father's medical bills. You don't understand how complicated this is, Sarah said. Elle's family has money, connections. If I get involved and it blows up, I could lose everything. The firm I'm hoping to make partner at, Elle's dad sits on their advisory board. So this is about your career. This is about survival, Mom. Some of us can't afford to be heroes. I heard movement, footsteps clicking across what sounded like marble flooring. Besides, Sarah continued, maybe this is what Elle needs. She's been sheltered her whole life, handed everything on a silver platter. A little reality might be good for her. The casual cruelty in her voice, my best friend, the woman who'd stood beside me at the altar 6 hours earlier, hit me like a physical blow. And Jessica's your friend too, Carol said. Aren't you worried about her? Jess is a grown woman making her own choices. If she wants to compete with her sister for a man who's obviously using both of them, that's her business. Both of them. Sarah knew exactly what Marcus was doing, and she was going to let it happen. What about the money situation? Tom Morrison mentioned something about Marcus having financial problems. Elle's dad doesn't know the half of it. Marcus's family isn't just struggling, they're drowning. His father's bankruptcy was worse than anyone realizes, and Marcus has been living on credit cards for months. This wedding, his rent, even Elle's engagement ring, all financed debt. The engagement ring. My beautiful, perfect engagement ring that I'd been so proud of. He's gambling that he can access Elle's trust fund before his creditors start demanding payment. And honestly, he's probably right. The recording kept playing, and I heard Carol Morrison, who I'd called Aunt Carol since college, let out a disgusted sigh. Someone needs to tell that girl. Tell her what? That everyone she trusts has been lying to her? That her fairy tale wedding was actually a financial acquisition? Sarah's laugh was bitter. Mom, Elle's not stupid, but she's willfully naive. She sees what she wants to see. Even if someone told her the truth, she'd probably convince herself we were all jealous. I wanted to throw my phone down the stairwell. 8 years of friendship, and this is what Sarah really thought of me. Besides, Sarah continued, I tried to hint at it months ago. Remember when I mentioned that Marcus seemed very interested in her family's business? Elle got defensive and accused me of not supporting her relationship. She made it clear she didn't want to hear anything negative about her precious Marcus. That conversation. I did remember it, vaguely. We'd been at brunch, and Sarah had made some comment about Marcus asking a lot of questions about Dad's investment firm. I'd brushed it off, said he was just trying to understand my world so he could fit in better. So you just gave up? I protected myself. Look, Mom, I love Elle, but I'm not going to destroy my career to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. The legal world is smaller than you think. If I burn bridges with the Hartwell family over this and it backfires, I'm finished. I heard the sound of a door opening, then muffled music. They must have stepped back into the reception hall. The voices faded, but not before I caught Carol's final words, I hope you can live with yourself. I skipped forward again, landing at timestamp 4 hours 47 minutes and 22 seconds. New voices now, my Uncle Richard and someone I couldn't immediately identify. $47,000 in credit card debt, according to my contact at the bank. Uncle Richard's voice was low, conspiratorial. The boy's been juggling minimum payments for 8 months. Jesus, Richard. And Elle has no idea? Elle's never had to think about money problems because she's never had them. She probably thinks financial difficulty means having to choose between the BMW and the Mercedes. The other voice laughed. It was my cousin David, Uncle Richard's son. So what's the play here? Do we tell Dad? Your grandfather doesn't need this stress. His heart can't take much more drama, and he's so happy about Elle's wedding. Did you see his face during the father-daughter dance? Grandpa Joe. 86 years old, 2 heart attacks in the past 3 years, and absolutely devoted to me. He'd walked me down the aisle when my own father had to bow out due to a last-minute business emergency in Singapore. But if this Marcus kid is planning to drain her accounts, then we handle it quietly. I've got people watching his financial activity. The moment he tries anything suspicious, we'll have documentation ready for the lawyers. And Elle? Elle's a smart girl. She'll figure it out eventually. And when she does, the family will be ready to help her clean up the mess. At least someone was looking out for me, even if they weren't planning to warn me first. I heard footsteps in the hotel corridor above, someone leaving their room. Quickly, I gathered my things and headed down to the lobby, my mind reeling. How many people at my wedding had known the truth? How many had watched me exchange vows with a man who saw me as a bank account, while my own sister planned to sleep with him before our honeymoon was even over? The hotel lobby was bustling with Sunday morning checkout activity. I found a quiet corner near the windows overlooking the city and called my mom. Darling. How's married life treating you? Perfect, I managed. Mom, about those pearls you mentioned. What pearls, sweetheart? Right. I'd made that up to get away from Marcus. Sorry, still a little foggy from last night. I was wondering if you wanted to have lunch today? Just us? I'd love to, but your father and I are driving back to Connecticut this morning. Is everything all right? You sound strange. Everything was definitely not all right, but I couldn't explain that over the phone. Just tired. Have a safe drive. I had 4 more hours of recording to get through, and something told me the worst was yet to come. I found a small cafe 3 blocks from the hotel and ordered coffee I didn't want, claiming a corner table where I could listen to the rest of the recording without interruption. At timestamp 5 hours 12 minutes and 15 seconds, I heard familiar laughter, my parents, talking to someone just out of clear range. Margaret, you have to admit, Marcus is quite charming, my mother's voice, warm with champagne and satisfaction. Oh, he's charming all right. That was my Aunt Margaret, Dad's sister, and her tone carried an edge that made me sit up straighter. Reminds me of David's second husband. All smooth words and expensive tastes. David was my cousin who'd been married 3 times by age 35. Husband number 2 had cleaned out his trust fund before disappearing to Monaco with David's personal trainer. Now, Margaret, that's hardly fair, Mom started. Isn't it? Catherine, when's the last time one of Eleanor's boyfriends showed this much interest in family finances? Marcus has asked me more questions about our investment strategies in 6 months than David asked in 30 years. He's just trying to fit in. The boy comes from a different background. The boy comes from bankruptcy court, Catherine. I had Richard run a background check 8 months ago. My coffee cup rattled against the saucer. Aunt Margaret had known for 8 months. You did what? Mom's voice went sharp, the tone she used when she was about to unleash her controlled fury. Someone had to. Eleanor was so smitten, talking about moving in together, combining finances. Richard has contacts at every major bank in the city. Marcus Morrison is drowning in debt, and his family's financial situation is even worse than we suspected. And you didn't think to mention this before today? I tried. Remember the engagement party? I pulled you aside, said maybe we should slow things down, get to know the boy better. You said Eleanor was happy and that was all that mattered. I did remember that conversation, or the aftermath of it. Mom had been tense the rest of that evening, and she'd asked me several pointed questions about Marcus's job, his family, his plans for the future. I'd been annoyed by what felt like an interrogation. Besides, Margaret continued, what was I supposed to say? Congratulations on your engagement, dear, but your fiancé is a fortune hunter? Eleanor's always been headstrong. Criticism just makes her dig in deeper. She wasn't wrong about that. So what exactly do you know? Mom asked, and I could hear her settling into what Dad called her boardroom voice, the tone she used when she was about to dissect a problem with surgical precision. His father's construction company went under 18 months ago. Took their house, their savings, everything. Marcus has been supporting his parents' rent while living off credit cards and charm. The software job he talks about? Part-time consulting work that barely covers his minimum payments. The numbers from Marcus's conversation with Tommy suddenly made terrible sense. He wasn't exaggerating about his family's situation, he was desperate. There's more, Margaret continued. He's been researching our family's financial structure for months. Someone forwarded him articles about the trust fund restructuring, details about your father's real estate holdings, even information about Eleanor's inheritance timeline. Someone forwarded him, Mom's voice cut off abruptly. Inside information, Catherine. Someone with access to family financial discussions. The silence stretched long enough that I wondered if the recording had cut out. Then Mom spoke, her voice deadly quiet, Jessica. That would be my guess. She's been asking unusually specific questions about Eleanor's trust fund since Christmas. Questions that show up in Marcus's research history, according to Richard's contact. Christmas. The same time Marcus said Jess had made her first move. My own daughter. Mom's voice cracked slightly. Margaret, what kind of family are we that one daughter would betray the other like this? The kind where money complicates everything, and some people convince themselves that love and loyalty are luxuries they can't afford. I heard the sound of chairs scraping, movement that suggested they were getting up to leave. What do we do? Mom asked. We protect Eleanor as much as we can, and we document everything. Richard's already working with the family lawyers to restructure her trust fund access. If Marcus tries anything, we'll be ready. And Jessica? The pause was long enough that I thought they'd moved out of range. Then Margaret's voice, cold and final, Jessica made her choice. She'll have to live with the consequences. The recording continued, but their voices faded as they moved away. I sat in the cafe, staring at my untouched coffee, trying to process the fact that my own family had been conducting a covert investigation into my husband while I'd been blissfully planning our future. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, missing you already. Take your time with your mom. I'll be here waiting for my beautiful wife. Red heart. The heart emoji made me want to scream. I forced myself to text back, love you too. See you soon. Then I fast-forwarded through more audio, looking for anything else that might destroy what was left of my world. At timestamp 6 hours 47 minutes and 12 seconds, I found it. She's going to be devastated when she finds out. A voice I recognized as my cousin Rachel, Jessica's best friend since high school. If she finds out, came another voice, my second cousin Amy. Honestly, Elle's so wrapped up in her fairy tale that she might never notice. They were talking about me like I was a child who still believed in Santa Claus. Rachel, they're not exactly subtle. I saw Marcus slip Jess's room key during the bouquet toss. While Elle was literally standing 10 feet away, trying to make sure I caught the flowers. The bouquet toss. I'd been so focused on making sure my single cousins felt included that I hadn't been watching my husband. Or my sister. The worst part, Rachel continued, is that Jess actually thinks he's going to leave Elle for her. She showed me texts where he's promising her they'll be together once everything settles down. Girl has no idea she's just a convenient side piece. What did the text say exactly? Typical bullshit. You understand me in ways Elle never could, and this is just temporary until I can untangle myself financially. Oh, and my personal favorite, Elle's family money comes with too many strings, but with you I could be myself. I gripped my phone so hard I thought the screen might crack. Marcus had been playing both of us, telling me he loved my family while telling Jess they were a burden he wanted to escape. He's been planning this for over a year, Rachel went on. Jess said he started asking her questions about Elle's finances on their second date. Not Elle, he was pumping Jess for information before he even knew if Elle liked him. Their second date. I'd been so excited about this cute software developer I'd met at a coffee shop, and he'd already been strategizing how to access my bank account through my sister. And Jess went along with it? Are you kidding? She was thrilled. Finally, something Elle had that she wanted too. Plus Marcus convinced her that Elle doesn't really love him, just the idea of being married, the status of it. Said Elle was more excited about the wedding than the actual relationship. That hit me like a physical blow because there was a grain of truth in it. I had been excited about the wedding, about the idea of building a life with someone. But I thought Marcus was excited about the same things. So what happens now? Marcus gets access to Elle's money, strings Jess along for a few months, then probably disappears with whatever he can steal. Jess gets left with nothing, and Elle. Rachel's voice trailed off. Elle gets destroyed. Financially and emotionally. And the really sick part? Marcus told Jess that Elle's so trusting she'll probably blame herself. Think she wasn't a good enough wife or didn't pay enough attention to the warning signs. My hands were shaking so violently I could barely hold the phone. Marcus hadn't just planned to steal from me, he'd planned my psychological breakdown too. Someone should tell her, Amy said quietly. Tell her what? That her husband married her for money, her sister's been sleeping with him, and half the wedding guests knew about it. That would destroy her. She's going to find out eventually. Maybe. But by then it'll be too late to stop it, so why should we be the ones to break her heart? The casual acceptance in their voices, the assumption that my destruction was inevitable and not worth preventing, made me want to scream. These were people who'd grown up with me, who'd been to my birthday parties, who'd signed their wedding cards with love always. I had 90 minutes of audio left, but I couldn't listen to any more. Not yet. Instead, I called the hotel and asked to speak to the concierge. This is Mrs. Morrison in the honeymoon suite. I need to arrange something special. The concierge's voice was professionally cheerful. Of course, Mrs. Morrison. How can we help make your stay more memorable? I'd like to arrange a dinner party for next Saturday evening. Something elegant but intimate. 2 families, about 20 people total. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. Private dining room, full catering, the works. Wonderful. Are we celebrating anything special? I stared out the cafe window at couples walking hand in hand down the sidewalk, probably planning their own futures built on actual love instead of financial fraud. You could say that. It's a surprise for my husband. After arranging the dinner, Marcus would think it was a romantic gesture to bring our families together post-honeymoon. I walked back toward the hotel. My phone buzzed with another text from him. Babe, where are you? Missing you like crazy. Can't wait to start our forever. 2 hearts. Our forever. Right. But as I crossed the lobby, I saw something that made my blood freeze. Marcus, standing by the elevators with an ice bucket, wearing the hotel robe and slippers. He was supposed to be in our room making work calls. He stepped into the elevator, and I watched the numbers climb. Not to our floor, the 7th. He stopped on the 8th floor. Room 847. Where Tommy said Jess was staying. I took the stairs 2 at a time, my heart hammering. The 8th floor hallway was empty, but I could hear voices through the door of 847. Low, intimate murmurs punctuated by my sister's familiar laugh. I pressed my ear to the door like some pathetic detective in a bad movie, and heard Marcus say, I told you, baby, just give me a few months to get everything in place. Elle's already talking about combining our bank accounts next week. I hate this, Jess replied, her voice petulant. Watching you pretend to love her, having to smile and play the supportive sister. Did you see her face during the ceremony? She actually believes this is real. It has to look real for now. Her family's already suspicious. That aunt of hers has been asking too many questions. But once I have legal access to her accounts, we can be together properly. Define properly. A house in Napa, maybe something in Europe. Elle's trust fund could buy us a very comfortable life, Jess. No more pretending, no more sneaking around. The sound of movement, then Jess's voice, softer, promised me she won't get hurt more than necessary. Marcus laughed, and the sound was nothing like the warm chuckle I'd fallen in love with. She's going to get hurt, babe. That's unavoidable. But Elle's resilient, comes from never facing real consequences. She'll bounce back. And Sarah? She's getting suspicious about why I keep asking about Elle's finances. Sarah again. My best friend who was apparently too concerned about her career to warn me, but still suspicious of my sister's motives. Sarah won't be a problem. She's too invested in staying on your family's good side to rock the boat. Besides, by the time anyone figures out exactly what happened, we'll be long gone. I heard the clink of glasses, champagne, probably from our room's complimentary bottle. To us, Marcus said. And to your sister's very generous contribution to our future happiness. To us, Jess echoed. I backed away from the door, legs unsteady. They were toasting with champagne meant for my honeymoon while planning to steal my inheritance and destroy my life. My phone buzzed with yet another text from Marcus. Hey beautiful, got caught up in some urgent work stuff. Why don't you treat yourself to the spa? I'll make it up to you tonight. Love, my amazing wife. Red heart. The lies came so easily to him. I wondered if anything he'd ever said to me was true. I had 6 days before our families gathered for what they thought would be a celebration dinner. 6 days to figure out exactly how much damage Marcus could do, how many people had betrayed me, and how I was going to make sure they all faced consequences for treating my life like a game they could win. But first, I needed to finish listening to that recording. Because something told me I still hadn't heard the worst of it. The elevator ride back to our honeymoon suite felt like descending into hell. I had to face Marcus, smile at him, pretend I didn't know he'd just spent the last hour planning my financial ruin with my own sister. The key card shook in my hand as I opened the door. There's my beautiful wife. Marcus was lounging on the bed in fresh clothes, laptop open, the picture of innocent productivity. How was lunch with your mom? Did you get those pearls? The lie I'd forgotten I'd told. She decided to wait until we get back from the honeymoon. Something about a proper ceremony. I forced a smile and kissed his cheek, tasting betrayal. How were your work calls? Boring conference stuff. You know how it is. He pulled me down onto the bed beside him. I missed you though. Kept thinking about how lucky I am. Lucky. Right. My phone was still recording everything, I realized with a start. The voice memo app showed 12 hours and 18 minutes now. I'd accidentally created a comprehensive audio diary of my marriage's destruction. I was thinking, Marcus continued, running his fingers through my hair with what I'd once thought was tenderness, maybe we should start looking at combining our finances sooner than we planned. Strike while the iron's hot, you know? Get all the boring paperwork done before the honeymoon glow wears off. There it was. Less than 24 hours married, and he was already pushing for access to my accounts. That's so sweet, I managed. You're thinking about our future even on our wedding day. Our future is all I think about. His smile was perfect, practiced. How many times had he rehearsed these lines? I love you, Elle. More than I've ever loved anyone. The words that used to make my heart flutter now felt like insects crawling under my skin. I love you too, I whispered, and hated myself for how easily the lie came. Marcus ordered champagne and strawberries for our proper celebration, and I excused myself to the bathroom again. I had to finish that recording. I fast-forwarded to the last hour of audio, timestamped 6 hours and 50 minutes, and heard voices I hadn't expected. David, this is unconscionable. My grandfather's voice, weak but sharp with anger. That boy is going to destroy her. Grandpa Joe, keep your voice down. The family's handling it. The family's handling it? She's my granddaughter, David. I held that little girl when she was born, walked her down the aisle yesterday because her father was too busy making money to be here for the most important day of her life. The pain in his voice made my chest tight. Grandpa Joe's heart condition was serious, stress could literally kill him. We have lawyers involved, investigators watching Marcus's activities. The moment he tries to access her accounts inappropriately. The moment? David, he accessed her credit card 3 days ago. $1,500 at some jewelry store in Manhattan. Want to bet it wasn't a surprise for Eleanor? $1,500. The same amount Marcus had claimed his work bonus covered for a special honeymoon surprise for me. He bought jewelry for Jessica using my own money. How do you know about? Because unlike the rest of this family, I actually pay attention to what matters. Eleanor's been getting financial statements sent to my address since she was 18, backup copies, in case something happened to her primary accounts. I've seen every transaction. My grandfather had been monitoring my finances for protection, while my husband had been monitoring them for exploitation. The boy's been systematically researching our family's assets for months. Shell companies, property transfers, investment portfolios. David, he knows things about our financial structure that some family members don't even know. Shell companies? 3 of them, all set up in Delaware 6 months ago. Right around the time he proposed. Someone's been feeding him very detailed information about how to move money without triggering automatic reviews. Jessica. It had to be. She'd helped Dad with administrative work at his firm last summer, filing documents and organizing client portfolios. She'd had access to everything. What kind of money are we talking about? If he plays this right, he could drain Eleanor's trust fund, liquidate her investment accounts, even take out loans against her inheritance. We're talking about $8 to $10 million before anyone realizes what's happening. 8 to 10 million. I'd known my family had money, but I'd never calculated exactly how much I stood to lose. Jesus Christ, Grandpa. Does Elle have any idea? Eleanor thinks money is something that just appears when you need it. She's never had to worry about it, never had to think about it. That's not her fault, it's ours. We protected her so well from financial realities that she can't recognize financial predators. The bathroom door rattled. Elle? You okay in there? You've been in there for 20 minutes. Just a minute. I called out, quickly pausing the recording. 20 minutes? It felt like 20 seconds. I flushed the toilet for effect and opened the door to find Marcus looking concerned and loving and perfectly manipulative. You sure you're all right? You seem distracted. Just overwhelmed, I said, which was completely true. It's been such a big day. Big week, really. I know, baby. That's why I think we should get all the practical stuff handled quickly. Bank accounts, paperwork, all that boring married people stuff. Then we can just focus on being happy. Being happy. While he systematically destroyed my life. That sounds perfect, I lied. Maybe we could start on Monday? After we've had some time to just be newlyweds. His smile flickered for just a moment, impatience or frustration, quickly hidden. Of course. Whatever makes you comfortable. But I could see the calculation in his eyes. Every day he waited was another day his creditors got closer, another day someone might discover his plan. Actually, I said, inspiration striking, what if we made it special? Like a celebration dinner with both families next weekend? We could announce our decision to combine everything then, make it a real moment. Marcus's face lit up with genuine excitement for the first time since I'd gotten back. That's perfect, Elle. Both families together, celebrating our future. I love it. He loved it because he thought he was a week away from winning everything. He had no idea I was planning to destroy him in front of everyone who'd betrayed me. The next morning, Marcus left early for what he called coffee with the guys, probably another planning session with Tommy about how to maximize his theft from my accounts. I waited until I heard the elevator doors close, then immediately called the one person I knew I could trust, my grandfather. Grandpa Joe? It's Al. I need to see you today. Alone. His voice sharpened immediately. What's wrong, sweetheart? I can't explain over the phone. Can you meet me at that little cafe near your apartment? The one where you taught me to play chess? I'll be there in an hour. Grandpa Joe was already waiting when I arrived, looking older than his 86 years but with those sharp blue eyes that missed nothing. He stood up to hug me, and I nearly broke down in his arms. Tell me, he said simply, settling back into his chair. I pulled out my phone and showed him the recording, over 13 hours now. My phone accidentally recorded everything from our wedding night. Grandpa, I know about Marcus. About Jessica. About all of it. His face went gray, and for a moment I was terrified I'd given him another heart attack. Then his expression hardened into something I'd never seen before, pure, controlled fury. How much did you hear? Enough to know that my husband married me for my trust fund, my sister's been feeding him financial information and sleeping with him for months, and half our family knew something was wrong but nobody warned me. My voice cracked on the last words. Grandpa Joe reached across the table and took my hands in his weathered ones. Eleanor, I'm so sorry. We thought we were protecting you by handling it quietly. Protecting me? Grandpa, he could have stolen millions before I figured it out. He's already used my credit card to buy jewelry for Jessica. The words tasted like poison. $1,500 3 days ago. What did you think you were protecting me from that could be worse than that? He was quiet for a long moment, and I saw him make some kind of decision. There's more, sweetheart. Things the recording probably didn't capture. My stomach dropped. More? Marcus isn't working alone. Those shell companies I mentioned? They're not just for hiding money, they're connected to a larger operation. My investigator found 2 other women in similar situations. Wealthy, isolated, trusting women who married men who cleaned out their accounts and disappeared. Other women? The cafe suddenly felt too small, too warm. You're saying Marcus is part of some kind of, marriage fraud ring? That's exactly what I'm saying. The investigator thinks Jessica isn't his only inside source. These people identify wealthy families, research their financial structures, then place someone in position to marry into the family. It's sophisticated and it's organized. I stared at him, trying to process this. So nothing about our relationship was real? Nothing? I'm afraid not, sweetheart. His voice was gentle but firm. The coffee shop where you met? Marcus had been going there every day for 2 weeks, after Jessica told him about your routine. The software consulting job? Mostly fictional, just enough real work to maintain the cover story. The coffee shop. I thought it was such a romantic coincidence, bumping into this charming stranger who spilled espresso on my laptop and insisted on buying me a replacement drink. He'd been so apologetic, so funny about his clumsiness. It had all been performance. What about the other women? What happened to them? Grandpa Joe's expression darkened. The first one lost 2.8 million before she realized what was happening. Took her 3 years to recover financially, and she never recovered emotionally. The second one. He paused. The second one figured it out during their honeymoon, just like you. And? She confronted him directly. Threatened to expose everything. His grip on my hands tightened. She had an accident 2 days later. Fell down the stairs in their hotel. Very tragic, very convenient timing. The coffee cup slipped from my numb fingers, shattering against the cafe floor. Other patrons turned to stare, but I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. An accident, I whispered. You think they killed her? Grandpa Joe's weathered hands were steady as he signaled the waitress for cleanup, but his voice was deadly serious. The investigator thinks so. Hotel security footage was mysteriously corrupted, and the husband had an airtight alibi. He was in the lobby making phone calls when she fell. Got a very generous life insurance payout 6 months later. My entire body felt cold despite the cafe's warmth. And you think Marcus would? I couldn't finish the sentence. I think Marcus is more dangerous than any of us realized. Eleanor, these people have too much invested in this operation to let one angry wife destroy everything. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Promise me you won't confront him directly. Promise me you'll be smart about this. I nodded, not trusting my voice. The recording on my phone suddenly felt less like evidence and more like a death sentence if Marcus discovered it. What do I do, Grandpa? How do I stop this without ending up dead in a stairwell? We stick to the original plan, but we accelerate everything. That dinner party you're planning for Saturday? We move it to Wednesday. And we make sure everyone who betrayed you faces consequences in a very public, very documented way. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, missing my beautiful wife. Grabbed breakfast with Tommy, he says hi. Can't wait to see you. Thinking about our future makes me so happy. Red heart. The heart emoji made my skin crawl now that I knew what our future meant to him. He's with Tommy right now, I said, showing Grandpa Joe the text. Probably planning their next move. Good. That gives us time to plan ours. His blue eyes glittered with something that reminded me why he'd been such a successful businessman before retirement. I'm calling an emergency family meeting for this afternoon. Everyone who knew about Marcus's situation and chose to stay silent. What about Jessica? The question hung between us like a blade. My sister, my maid of honor, the person who'd held my hair back when I had food poisoning, who'd helped me practice my wedding vows in the mirror. Jessica made her choice when she decided your trust fund was more valuable than your life. His voice carried a finality that scared me. She'll face the consequences with everyone else. I thought about the recording, about Jessica's voice planning her future with my husband using my money. She really thinks he's going to leave me for her. She's about to learn how wrong she is. Marcus will throw her under the bus the moment things get complicated, and they're about to get very complicated. Grandpa Joe pulled out his phone. I'm calling Margaret first. Then Richard. Then your parents. Mom and Dad are driving back to Connecticut. They'll turn around. His tone brooked no argument. Family emergency. All hands on deck. As he started making calls, I stared at my phone screen. 13 hours and 47 minutes of recorded evidence that my entire life had been built on lies. But now it was more than evidence, it was potentially the only thing standing between me and an accident in some hotel stairwell. Marcus thought he was hunting a naive trust fund princess who would never see him coming. He had no idea he'd married into a family that had been quietly preparing for war from the moment they suspected his motives. But first, I had to survive until Wednesday. The phone in my hand buzzed again, can't wait to hold my wife again. You're my whole world, Elle. Red heart. 3 days, I told myself. Just stay alive for 3 more days. The family meeting convened at 2 p.m. in my parents' Connecticut study, after they'd driven back from their planned weekend getaway. I sat in the same leather chair where I'd announced my engagement 18 months ago, while 7 family members arranged themselves around the room like a war council. Aunt Margaret had brought a thick manila folder. Uncle Richard carried a laptop and what looked like financial reports. My parents flanked my grandfather's wheelchair, their faces grim. Even my cousin David had driven down from Boston. Before we start, I said, pulling out my phone, everyone needs to hear this. I played selected excerpts from the recording, Marcus discussing my trust fund with Tommy, Jessica revealing months of financial intelligence gathering, Sarah's mother confronting her about the affair. The room grew colder with each revelation. When Jessica's voice came through the speakers saying, Elle's family money comes with too many strings, but with you I could be yourself, my mother actually flinched. 14 hours of this, I said, stopping the playback. My own wedding night, recorded by accident. Everything they really think about me, about our family, about their plans. Aunt Margaret opened her folder. The investigator's preliminary report confirms most of what you heard. Marcus has been in contact with a woman named Victoria Chen in Delaware. She's connected to at least 4 similar marriage fraud cases over the past 3 years. 4? My father's voice was sharp. You said 2 yesterday. We found 2 more overnight. The pattern is always the same, identify wealthy families through social media and public records, place an attractive man in the target's path, use a female family member or close friend as an inside source. Margaret's clinical tone made it sound like a business presentation instead of my destroyed life. The average take is between $3 and $8 million. Uncle Richard pulled up something on his laptop. The shell companies Grandpa Joe mentioned? They're more sophisticated than we thought. Marcus could theoretically drain Eleanor's accounts and have the money transferred through 6 different jurisdictions before anyone notices. By the time we got court orders to freeze anything, it would be an untraceable cryptocurrency. How long would that take? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. With the right access codes and account information? 48 hours. Maybe less. 2 days. If I'd followed through with combining our finances tomorrow like Marcus wanted, everything would be gone by Wednesday. My mother spoke for the first time since we'd started. What about Jessica? Where does she think this ends? Grandpa Joe's expression was granite. Jessica thinks she's getting $50,000 and a boyfriend. She has no idea she's an accessory to multiple felonies. She's also my daughter, Mom said quietly. Whatever she's done, she's still my daughter. She sold out her sister for money and sex, Catherine. Aunt Margaret's voice was ice. She provided confidential family financial information to criminals. At what point does being your daughter stop excusing felony behavior? The room went silent. My mother's face was pale, and I realized this might be destroying her as much as it was destroying me. There's something else, I said. Marcus texted me an hour ago. He wants to move up our timeline for combining finances. Says he found an investment opportunity that we should jump on while the market's good. David looked up from his own laptop. What kind of investment opportunity? I pulled up Marcus's text chain. Some cryptocurrency startup. Says his business partner needs a quick influx of capital, and if we invest $75,000 by Thursday, we could double our money in 6 months. $75,000, Richard repeated. That's probably what he needs to pay his most pressing creditors while they set up the infrastructure to steal everything else. My phone buzzed with another message from Marcus. Baby, I know it's a lot to think about, but this opportunity won't wait. Trust me on this one? For us? Trust him. The man planning to steal my inheritance and possibly kill me if I got in the way. Wednesday, I said firmly. The dinner party happens Wednesday night. Both families, the private dining room at the hotel, everything documented. I looked around the room at faces that had known me my entire life. And Jessica will be there too. She deserves to watch her plan fall apart in front of everyone. The meeting ended with assignments distributed like military orders. Aunt Margaret would coordinate with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Uncle Richard would work with our lawyers to freeze my accounts preemptively. My parents would handle damage control with extended family who'd attended the wedding. I drove back to the hotel alone, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Marcus would expect his loving wife to return glowing from lunch with family, ready to discuss our future investments. Instead, I had to pretend everything was perfect while knowing he was part of an organized crime ring that had possibly killed someone. The elevator ride to the 7th floor felt endless. I used those 30 seconds to transform myself back into the naive Eleanor that Marcus thought he'd married, the trusting wife who believed in fairy tales and saw the best in everyone. He was waiting with champagne and takeout from my favorite restaurant. There's my beautiful bride. How was the family lunch? Perfect, I said, accepting his kiss and hating how natural the deception felt. Everyone's so happy for us. Mom kept crying happy tears. If only he knew why she'd really been crying. That's amazing, baby. I love how close your family is. Marcus pulled me down onto the couch, his arm around my shoulders. Actually, speaking of family, I got some incredible news today. My pulse quickened. Oh? Remember that business opportunity one mentioned? Well, Tommy's partner needs an answer by tomorrow night. Apparently there's another investor group circling, and if we don't commit our $75,000 by Wednesday, we lose the chance entirely. Wednesday. The same day I plan to destroy him. That's so soon, though. Shouldn't we research it more? Marcus's grip on my shoulder tightened slightly. Baby, sometimes you have to trust your instincts. This is exactly the kind of opportunity that could set us up for life. Real financial independence. Financial independence. Using my money. It's just, $75,000 is so much. I let my voice carry the uncertainty he expected from someone who'd never had to worry about money. What if something goes wrong? Nothing's going to go wrong. I've seen the projections, talked to the key players. Besides, it's not like we can't afford it. His smile was reassuring and predatory. That's the beauty of combining our resources, Elle. Your family's stability with my business instincts. My family's money with his criminal contacts, he meant. You're right, I said, leaning against him. I trust you completely. If you think it's a good investment, then let's do it. Marcus's whole body relaxed. Really? Just like that? Just like that. You're my husband, if I can't trust you, who can I trust? The words felt like swallowing glass, but his delighted expression made the performance worth it. God, I love you, he said, kissing the top of my head. You know what? Let's make this really special. What if we had both families over for dinner Wednesday night to celebrate our first major investment together? Really make it a moment. I managed to look surprised. That's exactly what I was thinking. I actually already called the hotel. They can do a private dining room Wednesday at 7. You already planned it? For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Suspicion? Calculation? Great minds think alike, I laughed. Besides, I want everyone to see how happy we are. How perfect this all is. Marcus studied my face for a long moment, then smiled. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. But as he went to call Tommy with the good news, I caught him watching me in the mirror's reflection. The loving husband mask had slipped just enough to show something cold and evaluating underneath. Wednesday couldn't come fast enough. But first, I had to survive 2 more days of pretending to be the trusting wife while my husband finalized plans to rob me blind. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. Can we talk before dinner Wednesday? I have something important to tell you about Marcus. Too little, too late, sister. Tuesday morning brought another text from Jessica that made my blood boil. Elle, I'm really worried about you. Something feels off about Marcus. Can we meet before the dinner tomorrow? Just sisters? Just sisters. After months of feeding my husband intelligence about my finances while sleeping with him behind my back, now she wanted to play the concerned sibling card. I was drafting a response when Marcus emerged from the shower, humming that same off-key tune from our wedding night. Morning, gorgeous. Ready for our big day? Our big day. He thought he was 24 hours away from accessing my accounts and 48 hours away from stealing everything I had. I can't wait, I said, meaning it in ways he couldn't imagine. Did you hear from Tommy's partner about the final details? Marcus's eyes lit up with genuine excitement. Everything's confirmed. We transfer the $75,000 tomorrow after the bank opens, and the investment gets locked in before the dinner. Perfect timing to announce our success to both families. Perfect timing to announce his arrest, more likely. Aunt Margaret had called at 6 a.m. to confirm that the FBI Financial Crimes Unit was officially involved, with agents standing by to monitor any large transactions from my accounts. There's just one tiny thing, Marcus continued, settling beside me with coffee. The investment group needs both our signatures on some additional paperwork today. Something about spousal consent for international transfers. International transfers. My chest tightened. International? Just a formality, the cryptocurrency servers are based in the Cayman Islands for tax purposes. Very standard for these kinds of high-yield investments. His tone was casual, but I caught the way he watched my reaction. We could swing by the bank this afternoon, get everything notarized. This afternoon. He was accelerating his timeline, and I had a horrible suspicion about why. My phone rang, Grandpa Joe's contact. I should take this, I said, stepping into the bathroom. Eleanor, we have a problem. Grandpa Joe's voice was tight with urgency. The investigator found something. Marcus booked 2 plane tickets to the Cayman Islands for Thursday morning. 2 tickets, Eleanor. Him and Jessica. My legs went weak. Thursday morning? 6 a.m. flight out of JFK. One-way tickets, purchased Sunday night with a credit card linked to one of those shell companies. His breathing was labored, the stress was affecting his heart. They're planning to disappear with your money in less than 48 hours. Thursday morning. The day after our family dinner, after Marcus thought he'd have access to everything. There's more. Jessica applied for an expedited passport renewal 3 weeks ago. Claimed it was for a surprise honeymoon gift she was planning for you and Marcus. A surprise honeymoon gift. The perfect cover story for getting travel documents she'd need to flee the country with my husband. Grandpa, what about the other woman? The one who had the accident? She figured out the timeline the day before they planned to disappear. Confronted her husband that evening, threatened to call the police. His voice dropped to barely audible. She was dead by midnight. I gripped the bathroom counter, fighting nausea. They're going to kill me. Not if we stop them first. Eleanor, you cannot let Marcus get you alone today. Stay in public places, keep other people around. The bank paperwork he wants to sign? It's not for investments, it's authorization for emergency transfers in case of medical incapacitation. Medical incapacitation. A convenient excuse for why his wife couldn't make her own financial decisions after her tragic accident. What do I tell him about the bank? Stall. Tell him you're feeling sick, emotional about the dinner tomorrow, anything. Just don't sign those papers and don't go anywhere isolated with him. Through the bathroom door, I could hear Marcus on the phone. Yeah, Tommy, she's being perfect about everything. Trusting as a lamb. We'll have the transfers completed by noon tomorrow, be on the 6 a.m. flight Thursday. A pause, then laughter. Jessica's already packed. Girl can barely contain her excitement about finally getting her turn. Her turn. Like I was a toy they'd been sharing. I have to go, I whispered to Grandpa Joe. He's making calls. Be smart, sweetheart. 24 more hours. I flushed the toilet and returned to find Marcus dressed and holding my coat. Ready for our banking adventure, Mrs. Morrison? The way he said my married name made my skin crawl. Soon it would be Jessica's name in whatever country they fled to with my stolen money. Actually, I'm feeling really anxious about tomorrow night, I said, letting my voice carry the uncertainty he expected. What if I mess up the announcement? What if your family thinks I'm just some spoiled rich girl playing with investments? Marcus's expression softened into practiced sympathy. Baby, you're overthinking this. My family adores you, they think you're perfect for me. Because they thought I was a perfect victim. Could we maybe wait until after dinner tomorrow? I'd feel more confident about the paperwork if I knew both families were supporting us. I moved closer to him, using the physical intimacy he expected from his devoted wife. Please? For me? For a moment, something hard flickered in his eyes. Then the loving husband mask slipped back into place. Of course, sweetheart. Whatever makes you comfortable. We can sign everything Thursday morning instead. Thursday morning. When they'd planned to be on a plane to the Cayman Islands. Thank you, I breathed, kissing his cheek. I love you so much. I love you too, he said, and I wondered if he'd practiced saying those words to his other victims before he destroyed their lives. My phone buzzed with another text from Jessica. Elle, please. I need to tell you something important about Marcus before tomorrow night. Meet me for lunch today? I showed Marcus the message. Jess wants to have lunch. She's probably nervous about meeting your extended family tomorrow. Marcus read the text, and his smile turned predatory. That's sweet. You should definitely see her. Maybe at that little cafe near her hotel around noon? Near her hotel. Where they could have privacy for whatever they planned. Actually, I was thinking somewhere more public. You know how emotional Jess gets. If she starts crying about wedding stress, I'd rather not have an audience of strangers. I scrolled through my phone. What about the hotel restaurant downstairs? Busy enough that she'll stay composed, but comfortable enough that we can really talk. Marcus's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Perfect, he said. I'll grab lunch with Tommy while you girls catch up. More planning sessions, no doubt. Finalizing their timeline now that the bank paperwork was delayed. But as I texted Jessica back, confirming lunch at the hotel restaurant, I realized I finally had an advantage Marcus didn't know about. He thought I was a naive trust fund princess stumbling blindly toward my own destruction. He had no idea I'd been planning his downfall since Sunday morning. 24 hours until I destroyed everyone who'd betrayed me. I just had to stay alive long enough to see it happen. Wednesday night arrived with perfect precision. The hotel's private dining room glowed with soft lighting as both families gathered around the mahogany table, crystal glasses catching the chandelier's sparkle. Marcus sat beside me, his hand resting possessively on mine, that practiced smile never wavering as he charmed my relatives with stories about our perfect honeymoon. Jessica wore the emerald earrings I'd given her for her birthday last year, her face glowing with what everyone assumed was happiness for her sister's new marriage. She kept stealing glances at Marcus, little secret smiles that made my stomach turn. Before we order, I announced, standing and tapping my champagne flute, Marcus and I have some exciting news to share about our future together. Marcus squeezed my hand, his eyes bright with anticipation. This was it, the moment he thought I'd announce our combined finances, clearing his path to steal everything. Instead, I pulled out my phone and connected it to the room's sound system. I want everyone to hear how much my husband truly loves me, I said, my voice carrying clearly across the suddenly quiet room. Exactly the way he expressed it on our wedding night. I hit play. Marcus's voice filled the room, crystal clear through the premium speakers. 2.4 million in her trust fund, plus whatever she stands to inherit from her grandmother's estate. That's not even counting the property in Martha's vineyard. The color drained from Marcus's face as his own words condemned him. Around the table, both families sat frozen, wine glasses suspended halfway to lips, as the recording continued. Tommy, her grandmother's house alone is worth more than everything my family has ever owned combined. Marcus, his mother whispered, her voice barely audible over the playback. What is this? But I wasn't finished. I fast-forwarded to Jessica's voice. I hate watching you pretend to love her, having to smile and play the supportive sister. Did you see her face during the ceremony? She actually believes this is real. Jessica shot to her feet, chair clattering backward. Elle, I can explain. Sit down, I said coldly, advancing the recording to Marcus's response. Elle's going to get hurt, babe. That's unavoidable. But Elle's resilient, comes from never facing real consequences. She'll bounce back. My mother's champagne flute shattered against the hardwood floor. The recording played on for 12 devastating minutes. Marcus's casual discussion of the shell companies. Jessica's detailed intelligence reports about family finances. Their toast to my generous contribution to their future happiness while planning to disappear to the Cayman Islands with my inheritance. When the audio finally stopped, the silence was deafening. Marcus stood slowly, his mask finally slipping completely. The charming smile was gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Elle, sweetheart, you're misunderstanding. The FBI disagrees, I said, as the dining room doors opened. 3 federal agents in dark suits entered, led by Agent Patricia Morse from the Financial Crimes Unit. Marcus Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit wire fraud, money laundering, and organized financial crimes. As they read Marcus's rights, Jessica bolted for the side door, directly into the arms of 2 more agents who'd been waiting in the hallway. The interesting thing about organized crime, I continued, my voice steady despite the chaos erupting around me, is how quickly everyone turns on each other once they're caught. Agent Morse approached our table, holding a thick folder. Mrs. Morrison, your family's cooperation in this investigation helped us connect your case to a larger network. We've made 7 arrests across 4 states tonight. Your husband was part of a marriage fraud ring that's stolen over $23 million from wealthy families. Marcus's father slumped in his chair, head in his hands. Son, how could you do this? But Marcus wasn't looking at his family. His eyes were fixed on me with pure hatred. You think you're so smart, you spoiled little princess. You have no idea what you've just destroyed. I know exactly what I destroyed, I replied. A criminal enterprise that targeted vulnerable women and stole their lives along with their money. I looked around the table at both families, his parents devastated, mine grimly satisfied. The only thing I'm sorry about is that it took me 3 days to figure out what kind of man I'd married. As the agents led Marcus away in handcuffs, he turned back one final time. This isn't over, Eleanor. Agent Moore stepped between us. Actually, Mr. Morrison, it is. We have enough evidence to put you away for 15 to 20 years. Your cryptocurrency accounts, the shell companies, even the plane tickets to the Cayman Islands. Your wife recorded everything we needed. After the arrests, after the statements and paperwork, after both families had gone home in shocked silence, I sat alone in that private dining room with my phone on the table. 14 hours and 23 minutes of audio that had captured the complete destruction of my marriage and the exposure of everyone who'd betrayed me. My divorce lawyer was already drawing up papers. The FBI had frozen Marcus's accounts and seized the stolen funds he'd managed to access. Jessica was facing federal charges as an accessory, and the rest of his criminal network was unraveling across multiple jurisdictions. I looked at my reflection in the darkened window and saw someone I barely recognized, no longer the naive trust fund princess who believed in fairy tales and happy endings. The past 4 days had burned away every illusion I'd ever had about love, family, and trust. But I was still alive. Still wealthy. And now I was free. My phone buzzed with a text from Grandpa Joe. Proud of you, sweetheart. You handled that like a true Hartwell. I picked up my champagne glass, the same crystal pattern from our wedding reception, and raised it toward my reflection. Here's to recording everything, I said softly, then drained the glass and walked out of the room where my marriage had died. The title had been right all along, my phone really had recorded everything while I was asleep at my wedding. It just turned out that the most important revelations happened when I finally woke up.